Well, hello, great people. Welcome to Hair Metal Revolution. We're going to watch this video and we're going to make comments about it. It's when Chris Cornell was talking about the difference between hair metal and the grunge. There's things he said in his 2-minute video that I might agree with, and there's things in there that I totally don't agree with. Now, for the record, Chris Cornell is not with us, so this is no disrespect to him, to his music. Soundgarden was a fine band. I live in Seattle myself, so I know a lot of things about Soundgarden. But it doesn't mean we have to agree with certain point of views that artists have. Now, my opinion might be different than your opinion, but I thought together we'll kind of take a listen to this video and dissect it together to see what do you guys think of it. So this is Chris Cornell's difference between hair metal versus grunge.
I don't care if I never hear a person write another song about a stripper or a motorcycle again. I don't care.
First of all, you talk about he doesn't care to hear every song about a stripper and whatever you say. Not every song is about riding motorcycles and strippers. Yes, there are some songs about it. Of course there is. But not every song. It's almost like the number 2 things we're going to talk about in a band is okay, has to be sex and motorcycles. That's just not true. Not true at all. Listen to Warren's I Saw Red. I don't think he's talking about strippers or hookers or whatever you want to say. So that kind of a comment is not an accurate comment. Are there songs about it? Of course, but every music has that. Every genre has motorcycles and strippers in it. Maybe not as much as necessarily 80s, but let's not say the whole era is all about those 2 things.
Punk music was never commercially successful. There were a lot of new wave bands that were on MTV, which was very young at the time, very commercial new wave bands. And then there was the hair metal bands, like you said, Bon Jovi and Poison was coming out, things like that, that we weren't fans of.
Well, okay. First of all, a lot of those bands, when they came out, they weren't commercially huge, successful. I mean, if you really think about it, every band gets following. It doesn't matter if your music gets played on a radio or MTV or whatever during that time. It didn't really break through until the later part of 87, 88, 89. Before, people forget, they only had a 2-hour block of hair metal Headbangers Ball. So they make it sound like it was always in this rotation, and it wasn't. They had to break down the barriers. They had to, keep shoveling at it to be able to get it on a regular rotation. So that comment, I hate to say it, is a little bit immature.
And Soundgarden was not a band that was immediately liked by any stretch.
Well, a lot of bands weren't immediate like. You know how many people hated Motley Crue because they thought they were the devil's music? People forget that a lot of these bands, they just didn't come in and say, hey, accept us. I mean, it took a lot to get people to accept them. I mean, it really did. It really did.
The Seattle music scene at the time was really sort of made up of other bands as your audience. So if we played a show, our audience was made up of other bands, and when a band like, say, Green River or the Melvins played a show, their audience was us from Soundgarden and a couple other bands, and that was it. And I think it really...
Well, every band that starts out in a small club. Motley Crue didn't start out playing huge arenas. They're playing clubs with less than 50 people, 5 people, 100 people. It's called developing that following, developing it. Their music when they came out was not everywhere. They had to fight for it. So again, that's a little immature what he's saying there.
Formed me as a musician and maybe even as a person, and that you have that decision to make, I think, at that time when you believe in the music that you're writing and that you're playing, and you may not necessarily be liked by everyone, but we had the perseverance and the attitude that we believe in what we were doing, and so we just kept doing it anyway.
So are you saying that when Bret Michaels did Something to Believe In, talking about how veterans got crapped on, that wasn't considered great writing? Okay, let's go to White Line. When the Children Cry, talking about all the wars in the world. When is it going to take for us to wake up and smell the coffee? Is it going to take When Children Cry? But those songs have so much meaningful for a lot of people. What about Faster Pussycat? House of Pain, about their father, leaving the kids around. I mean, those songs are not about strippers or motorcycles. Those songs really meant something. Bret Michaels talks a lot about when he wrote that Something to Believe In, his inner circle had to come out. So again, they're not really, I don't know. Let's hear some more.
And that was really, I think, the spirit of what was happening at the time in the mid to late 80s in Seattle. I think that's somewhat generational. A response to the music that we had been hearing that was part of the mainstream, not being interested in it, wanting to present something else that's going on, which included a lifestyle. My band, by no measure was a straight edge band, but we didn't participate in what you think of as like normal rock activities out on the road. It wasn't a room full of strippers and tons of drugs and going out to parties every night. We weren't that.
You should say that to Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons. I don't know. It's yes, there are bands who do a party every day after a show, but not every band. You're taking a few bands that maybe go to the extreme, but is it the extreme? As long as everybody's having a good time, isn't that what it matters? It shouldn't matter if what they do, after a show, as long as you're not hurting somebody, you're not, hurt. I mean, first of all, let's not talk about Soundgarden open up for Danzig, a man who's known to hit people, to call people out. Misfits, no offense to all them, they used to kick people in the stands. You open up for them. That's to me is way more radical than some of these bands that are just having a good time after a show. My God.
Way. Half the band were college educated. We all read books.
I'm sorry, that part, I fucking hate that part. Educated. So a person to really truly know about music needs to be educated. Like if you're not educated with the college, you're considered stupid. You're an idiot. See, I don't like that. That's dumb. That is dumb. If you like the music, yes or no. It doesn't matter if you're educated or not. Listen, okay, I got a college degree, but it took me to go in the military and get injured, and then later on in life, and use the Chapter 51 to get my degree. But I was already in my late 30s. A lot of good people don't have the opportunity to go to college. I mean, not everybody had that great midlife. Maybe your parents were able to pay for you to go to college. So college should have not. The college part should never be brought up. Read books. A lot of these artists read books. It's almost saying like every band in the 80s are all idiots or all drop out of high school. Yes, there's some. I know Motley Crue never finished high school. But that doesn't mean everybody is. It doesn't mean they're stupid or dumb. Hey, look, they're still playing stadium tours. They must be doing something right.
we, we were sports fans maybe, but it wasn't. There were very few similarities between us and what was the rock status quo at the time. There was no Seattle band that you could compare to like Def Leppard when it came to going and seeing the show. And I literally have friends that would come to a Soundgarden show and be backstage in the dressing room and be looking around and be completely disappointed because it looked just like this. Maybe there would be a bottle of whiskey on the table or something, but that was it. There were no drugs, there were no prostitutes or groupies or anything like that. And we would be having kind of roundtable discussions and arguments about philosophy.
Again, he's making like every single band in the 80s were all doing this. That's not true. Yes, there are bands that go to extreme. But what is wrong, again, of having a party after the show, inviting people to see it, as long as you're not hurting anybody? Isn't it having a good time in life is what it's about? Listen, when I go to a concert, I want to have a good time. I want to have a great time. And if I get to go backstage and have a beer with Janie Lane, have a drink with Bret Michaels, I mean, that's the world. No offense to Chris. I don't want to sit across from him and have my little ponytail, drink my coffee, and hey, how's that book page? Oh, what page are you on? 100? Oh, I'm on page 55. Oh, this part. Come on. I go to a show to escape the hectic life that we live in. So sue me if I want to have a good time. If I had the opportunity and get invited, go backstage. I never got invited, so what do I know?
And things that interested us, and playing records for each other of other indie bands. And one of the first times I met Kim Thayil and realized that this is a guy I want to be in a band with was when we were just discussing music. We were listening to the second Meat Puppets record and couldn't believe that there was a band out there making music like that. And agreeing on music and on film and on literature to us was more interesting than how many girls are we going to get, or how many different types of drugs are we going to be able to mix together and then live this incredible rock and roll lifestyle that seems to be everybody's dream.
Okay. It's like he's picking and choosing on who he considers makes the better music. Listen, all music is judged by the person. Not everybody's gonna like the same thing. No offense. With liking certain kind of music, it doesn't mean you're dumber, you're smarter. You like what you like in life. And let's not pretend that Soundgarden made this most incredible music in the world. Spoon Man's all right. But I'm not spinning in freaking circles, jumping up and down. Spoon Man, greatest song ever. Black Hole Sun. Shit. Black Hole Sun. Okay, great. Fantastic. Let's not pretend that Soundgarden was making the Beatles type music.
I think that type of energy, when you look at the rebellion as being part of rock music, actually came out in the music versus writing party anthems and then that behavior coming out in our lifestyles. I think one of the biggest reasons why a band like Nirvana appealed to such a broad audience was the fact that you went from seeing a video of a band like Whitesnake, where you have the singer's model wife doing a striptease act on the hood of a Jaguar, and basically all of these rock bands presenting themselves as having a lifestyle that you will never have.
No offense, Soundgarden. No offense, Chris Cornell. I can never have the lifestyle that you have. I can't have a lifestyle that Taylor Swift has. Pop music, a lot of country singers. I ain't never gonna have the lifestyle of Garth Brooks. Everybody knows that. But when is it a sin to have a good time? When is that a sin?
That's very special and it's very exclusive. And then you see a video with a band like Nirvana where the band essentially looked like everyone and their friends at high school looked like. And it was proof that anyone can do it. You don't have to look a particular way. You can just be who you are, make great music, and it will appeal to people.
Okay. Everybody looks like the generation that they're in. Everybody did. 70s, bell bottoms, disco clothes. Even though I think disco clothes look like crap, if you're into punk rock music, you're going to dress like a punk rocker. You listen to metal, you're going to dress as metal. Everybody dressed the way the generation was. Okay. Music changed in the 90s where people wore more flannels. Music changes. People dress. People from the 50s don't look like the 60s. People from the 60s don't look like the 70s. You are at the era time. Listen. Most people dress on what the music that's out during that time. You know, and there's one other crap I always freaking hear that always pisses me off. You know, I think maybe Kurt Cobain said this, like I don't like watching those bands because all those people in the fans I saw beating me up. Bands in hair metal revolution, whatever you want to call it, hair metal, hard rock, in the early 80s, they got picked off. They got beat up. Watch the movie Trick or Treat. In the 1986 Trick or Treat, Ragman gets messed up by preppies, getting beat up. Metal people took more crap than anybody out there. Dee Snider stood up for the music community, went to Congress and say, you know, when Tipper Gore was putting these stupid freaking labels on everything. Listen, the only reason, I like grunge music. I like it all. But the only fucking reason that grunge even got on airplay and radio was because of these bands they're making fun of that broke down those barriers, that had the songs that crossed over where they were played. Hair metal opened the doors so these bands could come in. Instead of shitting on them, they should give them respect. You know, one of the best bands I do respect 100% from the 90s grunge is Alice in Chains. You know what? Alice in Chains, they opened up for Poison. They opened up for Van Halen. Alice in Chains just wanted to play. They wanted to play to everybody. It's about bringing people together. That's what hair metal music was, bringing everybody together to have a great time. It wasn't about separation. You know, again, I like the 90s music, but let's not kid ourselves that, yes, era did change, but listen, 3 of those 4 bands are no longer with us. So I'm not blaming the music, but you know, and there was a lot of copycats that happened because of what happened. So at the end of the day, was it good for us? Really, was it good for us? I mean, I'm sorry to get passionate about this, but it truly does, you know, piss me off. Some of these people took the easy way out in life. I'm not saying they have good reasons or bad reasons. I'm not saying that. I'm no doctor and all that, but it felt like we needed to be depressed. Let's get depressed. Listen, having depression is a serious thing. We all know that. I have PTSD from the military, right? I have PTSD, service-connected disability from the military. I'm not ashamed to say that. You know, one of the best cure is to have a good time. The best cure is put a smile on your face. So if it's going to a concert, drinking some beers, and just letting out, as long as you're doing it in a proper manner where you're not hurting nobody or anything, there's nothing wrong with it, of having a community to come together. One of the best things about hair metal was that all the people that came together, you know, jumping on board. So again, I respect Chris's music. He's a great loss to the world. But it doesn't mean I agree with everything they say. They should have never brought up education because that's wrong. Reading books is important in life. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, bringing up books, bringing up education, it's making it sound like that everybody's an idiot. We're all dumb. We have brainless cells. You know, it's just not true. Music is about bringing people together. You know, when I went to the Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett show, everybody was together. Everybody was having a good time. And listen, those bands lasted. Yeah, all those bands took their hits in the 90s, but they stuck to it, and people realized in life, hey, we went from being happy to depressive, crying in a corner, being happy again. Being happy is the cure for a lot of things. Being happy. And the lifestyle, listen, I watch senators and presidents and all that. I'm never going to have their lifestyle. I'm never going to have $1,000 steaks and then I'm charging higher taxes so everybody go to the store can't buy a steak unless it's on clearance while they have their $1,000 steaks. Listen, I'm never going to have that lifestyle. You know, you can say lifestyle for anything. Actors, actresses, I'm never going to have their lifestyle. Should I stop watching their movies? Why am I watching Brad Pitt, George Clooney now? I'm never going to have their lifestyle. I mean, come on. It's about community, people. Be proud on what you'd like. Be proud of it. Be super proud of it. Don't be ashamed. I fucking love hair metal music, and I'm going to say every fucking day because I'm giving the music the respect that it deserves. So we're taking it back. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to Hair Metal Revolution. Because here we're growing a great community of people who want to be happy in life. That's all we're trying to do here. All right. Remember, hit that notification bell because great content is always coming out your way. I'll see you next time.